Axisa. He is a Major League Baseball writer for CBSSports.com. Mike, I'm guessing you heard some of our discussion about the Rockies. Let's turn it towards the trade deadline. Are you hearing anything about the Rockies dangling a Jorge De La Rosa, a Troy Tulowitzki, a Carlos Gonzalez, and is there any interest in those three guys?
I haven't heard anything yet with the Rockies, but that doesn't mean anything because we really haven't heard much about too many teams yet. I think the only team we really hear a lot about is the Phillies because they've been bad for so long. It just seems they're just out there the most. But I haven't heard much with the Rockies, and with them, again, the story is: are they going to move Tulowitzki? Are they going to move Gonzalez? We've been talking about this for years now, and that's really the big question because aside from those guys and maybe Jorge De La Rosa, maybe some relievers, I'm not sure what else is left there to really move. Obviously they're not good again. They haven't been good for a while. At some point, the Rockies got to say, are we going to build around Tulowitzki and Gonzalez and try to go for it, or do we take a step back and rebuild? And, I think there's an argument to be made for both sides of it, but they got to pick one and do it. They can't keep toeing the line and kind of staying in the middle here. They make moves that make it look like they're going for it, make moves that make it seem like they're rebuilding. You got to pick one or the other here, and I think they should rebuild because Tulowitzki and Gonzalez are not the players they once were. They're getting up there. Not that they're old, but they're on the wrong side of 30 now, and that window probably closed. So they should probably move them, but they have to admit to themselves that they have to do it. It's got to, at some point, somebody upstairs has to say, all right, we need to rebuild. Let's do it, and you start with those two.
Michael, this is Woody, and I apologize because after this segment's over, you're going to tell your friends, God, they dragged me on that show to talk about the Colorado Rockies. How awful was that? That's 10 minutes I can't get back in my life. So we apologize, but I've kind of been doing this lately, both at the ballpark or with people that we have on the show or talking to them and say, Michael, we all identify what's going on here, but when I talk to people, I ask them, you're now in charge of the Rockies. You're playing at altitude. You're playing with not the most, not the richest owner or the smartest owner in baseball. What would you do if we made you the general manager? You've watched enough of the Rockies, even though they're rarely on national TV, but you've watched them from afar. What would you do if you were putting in charge of this team?
I think the Coors Field aspect and trying to play at altitude, I think that's a significant challenge for them, and it goes beyond the pitching, I think, because if you look at their hitters as well, there's a big adjustment from playing at altitude. Their hitters, when they're away from home, the gap between their home performance and their road performance is much bigger than the average player. I don't know what's going on there. I think there might be, okay, they're at altitude, they're used to breaking balls, breaking less, and then when they come down to sea level, they're seeing these big breaking curveballs that aren't familiar to them. It seems like a challenge, not just from the pitching side, the hitting side. And I don't know what the solution is there, but that is something I would look for. That would be like priority number one. I don't know if it means kind of a super humidifier or whatever. I don't know how to solve that, but until they do that, I'm not sure they could win consistently. And while you're trying to figure that out, geez, I don't know. I think you just got to search for pitchers that rely heavily on their fastball, don't need to worry about spinning the ball. Aside from that, I think they got to, obviously, pitchers with fastballs. The offense, I think that they're kind of in a position where they could get okay hitters and get them to turn into great hitters because of the ballpark. So focus on the pitching and the defense, keeping runs off the board, and just trying to solve the Coors Field problem. I don't know what the solution is there, but you got to put some serious effort into it and try to find it.